Welcome to the Idle Talk podcast. My name is Peyton, and I'm joined by my friend Jacob. This is a very special recap episode of Season 46. This is a recap of Episode 8. Spoiler warning for Episode 8. And this is a special episode because we are recording our live reaction right after the episode. This is kind of like the new era where they don't do the reunion episode after the season has aired. They do the stupid live interview right after they read the votes that Jeff really hypes up, and I don't really know why they do it, but they get that live gut reaction and interview everyone right there. We just finished the episode about 15 minutes ago, set up to record, and we just started rolling, so we haven't even had time to really process our own thoughts. And so that's what this recap and analysis episode is going to be, is us processing our thoughts. With all that being said, I don't even know what the name of this episode was. Do you know?
Hide and seek.
Oh, fitting. Okay. Hide and seek. Probably could have guessed that.
Yeah.
What did you think of hide and seek?
What did I think of them playing hide and seek, or what did I think of the episode hide and seek?
Let's start with what you thought of the episode, and then we can talk about them playing hide and seek.
As a whole, it was a really entertaining episode of television. There are portions of it that I was frustrated, but not necessarily in a frustrated way that makes me think negatively of the show. More just makes me think negatively of a person on the show, which we can talk about later. So it doesn't make me not like the episode. It just makes me not care for one of the people in the episode. So, but as a whole, fun episode, good television. I enjoyed it.
Has there been an episode of this season that you haven't ended the episode and not felt frustrated at a single player? Yeah, I feel like that's every single episode. I feel like we come and we have this conversation, and you're always like, yeah, I enjoyed the episode, but I was really mad at Banu the whole time. Or I was really mad at Jelinski. Or I was really mad at insert Yanu player, is kind of always the way it goes down.
Whenever Jess went home, I don't think I was frustrated. Or wait, I don't remember. Maybe I was still frustrated at Banu at that point, but
it was Banu for a couple of episodes.
Well, I don't know. I'm just easy to piss off.
I think you're just easily irritated and or just easily frustrated and annoyed by people.
I am. Yes, that is factual.
Yeah. And I think that's probably why you like Hunter so much, is because he's easily frustrated and then just like shuts down. And that's sort of what you do, but you also aren't afraid to speak your mind, which is also, that's what Venus does, is she speaks her mind. And that's kind of what gets her in trouble, which is why I'm surprised you don't like Venus a little bit more, because she gets pissed off at people and then goes and talks about it. And then that gets her in trouble. We'll talk about that a little bit later, because she does that at the end of the episode. And we discussed that live. So anyways, hide and seek. Is that the first thing that happens in this episode?
Well, no. The first thing that happens in the episode is
they all come back from the split tribal.
And Venus is like, I don't. Her approach to the situation was questionable to me.
Yeah. So I guess they come back from this split tribal, and so it's the first time that each half gets to see how they voted.
Well, it first starts off with the Q, Tiffany, Ben, Kenzie, Hunter group back at tribal, or back from tribal first, so they're at camp just chilling, and Tiffany, Kenzie, and Ben are like sitting in the little shelter, giggling, having a good time, just talking. And Q is like weirdly pissed off about that. And I didn't really understand where his anger and frustration was coming from. He was like frustrated that they weren't taking it seriously, I guess.
He wanted them to be strategizing with Ben. I think he felt like, okay, we just voted out Tim, who is in the +1 alliance. We should be interviewing Ben, like they interview Charlie shortly after this point. I think that was what he was like, this is a golden opportunity to interview Ben to see if he's worth bringing in.
Yeah.
And they weren't taking advantage of it. He was like, why are we wasting time bonding? Like, he doesn't realize that Survivor is also a social game. And it was very weird. And this is another point where it is just very apparent that Q is, in the nicest way possible, a very self-righteous, self-centered person. He just is very focused on himself and not thinking about other people. And he wants to be in control. That is the thing that, and he says that later in the game, is that he wants to drive every vote. He's driven all the votes. And if he's not driving the vote, that doesn't sit right with him. And he needs to change it so that way he's in charge of the vote, which is insane. And then you see like a flip side of that later, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I think it's interesting what we're talking about Q right now. Like Kinsey says, hey, Yanu's been in a power position and has driven the last couple of votes. I don't really want to drive all the votes or they're going to vote us out. We need to sit back on this one. And since Liz was driving this vote and I heard there was like this vote going on, I'm happy to go along with it. It's not me. They want Tevin. I'll go along for the ride. Absolutely. That kind of takes the heat off of Yanu. And it's like, that's how Survivor's played. You drive the vote a little bit and then you back off. And I think that's really smart. And it seems like Q isn't thinking that way. He's very much just wants to be in control. And I can't really think of any players that I've seen domineer the game in that way before.
Or at least feel like that they need to be in a power position at all times.
At all times, yeah.
Or else their game spirals out of control.
Yeah. Like the need to be in control of all aspects of the game, not just of their game,
but everyone else's game too.
Everyone else's game.
Everyone else has to be playing his game.
Yeah. Which is crazy. That's where we said he feels very like he's trying to be a Survivor godfather kind of figure.
Yeah.
Which is that, and that's what this kind of first moment feels like. It just feels like another moment of that, and we see a lot of that come through in this episode. So we'll keep getting back to it, which is why I wanted to get a little bit ahead of myself there, because I think it's worth addressing at the top.
Yeah. So after that, we have the other group who comes back from Tribal after freshly voting out Soda, and Venus sits around the fire and recaps what happens to everyone.
Everyone's just expecting Venus to not be there.
Everyone thinks that Venus was the vote.
Yeah.
And then Venus vaults in and was pretty bold in her statements about what happened. And I don't know.
Which I kind of think, I don't know. There's two ways to think about it, right? She either does what she did, or she doesn't, right? Okay, like there's two options, okay? If she doesn't, she plays it close to her chest. Everyone else is going to sit there and make assumptions about it all, and she doesn't get an option to control the narrative. And this is the first time in the entire game for her that she has the opportunity to have any sort of a narrative. She has been left out of the game to this point, which is where I don't have a huge problem with the way she handled this, because I think at the end of the day, like, it wasn't her move, but she thinks it's her move. And in Survivor, I mean, your perception's your reality, and if she thinks it's her move, you might as well let everyone in on it. I think let everyone know that you're there to play Survivor, that you're not just, you're not useless. Because up to this point, her perception is that just everyone thinks she's useless and she can't play Survivor. And so she wants everyone else who wasn't at the vote to be aware and say, hey, I played Survivor tonight. Please play Survivor with me, is the way that I read it. It did, however, come across, because she was still kind of like giddy from it all.
It came across very arrogant.
Yeah, arrogant, kind of, but also just very like she was like very happy. Like, and it in the edit as well, it comes off weird because it keeps cutting back over to Tevin, who we know was the one who did it. But where it's very interesting is because Venus got 2 votes, and she was immediately able to say, well, those 2 votes were Soda and Tevin. and then called out Tevin. And that's where I think she probably was a bit too bold and was like, this is a guy who has all game claimed being honest and all this stuff. And then he told me all game to my face he was going to do one thing and then did another and voted for me and blah, 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 all this sort of stuff. And that is a bold move to say, not necessarily say to other people, but to say right there in front of Tevin. And like, all you're doing is growing this divide that you already have with him. So that was, I feel like, a weird, like probably like what I would call a strategic misstep, but just a weird decision that was just very much like an emotional, like in the moment thing to just like call him out there. But I mean, again, she was, pissed that he wrote her name down. I don't know what else to say about that bit, but I think that was probably the biggest miscalculation out of that whole segment.
Yeah.
But it did draw attention to Tevin in that scenario, which then carries on through the rest of the episode. And it started this little feud, or added fuel to the fire of this feud between Venus and Tevin that's been going on the whole season, but added fuel to the fire that then finally just pushes Liz over past her breaking point.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I didn't really understand Liz's angle. I don't know. She ended up getting what she wanted in the end, I guess, so. But I think the next thing that we should talk about is the hide and seek part of the hide and seek episode, which was honestly pretty cool. They spent a lot of the episode on the camp life, which I really enjoyed. The whole like 5-minute segment of the Q skirt or whatever, and then them playing hide and seek, and we get this really interesting montage of Q posing that he really wanted to play hide and seek, but it's really I'm trying to think of the word, like,
it's a test.
Yeah, it's like a test, but it's like, but there's a word like where it's like something disguised as something else, like a cover up. That's what the word. It's like a cover up for him trying to see who is a strategic player, because I think his words were not exactly, but his words were basically like, if you can hide from me in hide and seek, then you can hide from me in this game. Yeah. And you'll be able to like pull a fast one on me. I personally don't think that hide and seek skills translate to survivor skills. Like, I don't think your ability to hide in a bush is directly related to pulling off a blindside, but apparently Q thinks so. So we get these really funny montages of people being found, and he's like, oh, they were hiding so obviously. I know they're not a threat. And then and then Ben and Hunter were the two last to be found. They weren't found, so they were declared like the winners. And Q's like, Ben and Hunter, y'all made big mistakes. And I'm just like, they just hid well.
And, well, what's funny also to me is with the game of hide and... Well, okay, let me ask you this first before I go off on this little thing. Do you call it hide and seek or hide and go seek?
Hide and seek.
Okay, interesting.
Do you call it hide and go seek?
Yeah.
No, you're weird.
It's always hide and go seek.
No, it's hide and seek.
No, it's hide and go seek. But anyways.
No.
But when you play hide and go seek, I'll call it hide and seek because that's
the name of the
episode is called, but it feels weird. When you play hide and seek, it's so hard to say that.
No, it's not. It's literally hide and seek.
It's hide and go seek.
No, it's not.
Because it's hide, the letter N, go, seek.
No, but it's you hide and then seek.
You hide and then you go seek. It's hide and go seek.
No, you hide
and go seek.
And seek.
No, you hide.
In the game, you hide and
go
seek.
No, you hide and go seek.
So why is it not go hide and go seek? Because you go hide and you go seek.
No. No, it's hide and then you go seek. It's like there's an order of operations.
But you go hide and then you go seek.
No. Hide and go seek.
No, this is probably something that you picked up from the billion places that you lived growing up.
maybe it's just a Arkansas thing. Who knows? I don't know. But that's what growing up was, hide and go seek.
It's not a Lake City, Florida thing.
Yeah, well, Lake City has zero culture, so let's Google it. Hide and go seek. It's a thing.
Well, I know people call it that, but I don't call it that.
Hide and go seek, also known as hide and seek. Ha ha ha. Hide and go seek is the actual name. Suck it, nerd.
Whatever. Get to your point.
I've seen it. Actually, people say it goes both ways. So, anyways, what was I saying?
I don't know.
Oh. So, you like, I feel like when you're playing hide and go seek, whether or not someone is found is just as much on how good someone is at hiding as it is on how
good of a seeker
the person is.
Yeah.
So he never talked about Charlie being that good of a seeker. He talked about Liz a little bit because she like went off the path and found Q, and she was like, oh, she like went into the bushes and found me.
Yeah,
that tells me that she's gonna.
Yeah, she's one to watch.
Big mistake, Liz. She's here to play. She's not just passively playing or whatever. I don't even know what his justification was, but anyways, I just think hide and go seek is not an objective, measurable thing, and I agree with you. I don't see the translation to Survivor, except for Hunter, which I think kind of transitions us into the immunity challenge.
Yeah, if I saw Homeboy like in a tree 30 feet above camp, I'd be like, okay, he can do things.
And that's like with Ozzy. In Ozzy's seasons, he would climb up these really tall trees and get coconuts. So when they bring out this pole challenge, I'm not surprised that he has the record and can hang up there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That does not shock me in the least. Because Ozzy was always going up in trees.
So if Ozzy stayed up there for 2 hours, someone had to have like stayed up there with him though.
Yeah.
So that's also impressive that another person was able to go for 2 hours as well.
Yeah, let me look up because I'm trying to remember who.
Well, while you're looking it up, I'll transition us into the immunity challenge. So we go to the immunity challenge, and why'd you make that face?
Did you know the longest challenge ever in Survivor was 11 hours and 55 minutes?
Wasn't it the one that we watched in season 2?
Mm-mm. It's in Palau.
I thought the one where they stand on the pole in season 2 was the longest.
No, it's in Palau. 11 hours and 55.
What did they have to do?
I don't know, but it's the final one in Palau, so I don't really want to look at it because I know who wins that season, but I don't want to look at what the challenge was.
I think I know who wins Palau.
Tell me.
Is it a girl?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay.
Tell me who you think wins, and I will tell you yes or no.
Okay. So we go to the immunity challenge, and it's classic Survivor immunity challenge. Got to hang on a pole as long as you can. And Jeff offers them a negotiation of, if you have 4 people who are willing to sit out of the challenge, I'll give you enough rice to last you until the end of the game. And he either offers them that, or, which I thought was interesting, was 2 people can sit out, and those people can lose their votes at tribal, but they can still compete, and he'll give them the rice, which I thought was an interesting bargain. Liz and Q volunteer to sit out, but no one else volunteers to sit out, which I think is really interesting, especially if I just saw Hunter in a tree 30 feet in the air. I don't think I would be the first person out of this challenge, but I know for sure I am not
going to beat them. Yeah, absolutely.
So if they needed 4 people, I would sit out, because regardless of whether I think I'm safe or not, and no matter how much I need immunity, I know 1000% this is the challenge that I will not win.
Oh yeah.
I think like I'm a pretty average guy. I think I'd have a fighting shot in most challenges, but I think this is the one challenge that I for sure have 0 chance of winning. If I'm going against someone like Hunter.
Yeah, I would have to look at my competition, and I need to make, I need to analyze the competition, and there need to be no women,
no small women.
I would say, I mean, I don't know, man. No women less than 100 and maybe even 130 pounds, 140 pounds, 150 pounds. Like, I don't know. Like, I think, like, I don't know. Maybe no women, period, bro. Just straight up no women.
Women in the challenge are they're just so good. Much better.
That was, so I
Their
looked
body
it up
mass
just to see.
ratio is just so much
so
better.
Ozzy, the person who hung in with Ozzy, so it was Candace from, if you remember, she came back in Heroes versus Villains. She was
Did she have blonde hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Candace Woodcock. She was on Heroes Tribe, and then when they merged, was in Russell's Alliance for a little bit. She was the one that hung in there, and Ozzy ended up winning 2 hours, 15 minutes. It was in Ozzy's first season in the Race Wars season, Cook Islands, that they got rid of that name. But yeah, she was on the Whites tribe. So that's a crazy season. Can't wait for us to get there. That season's awesome. That's also Parvati's. Parvati, Ozzy, like Yule, obviously, like lit season. So good. Anyways, yeah. So, I mean, it's like women do really well. So there would have to be, I have to feel confident that I could hang in with the women who are there. And I'm a bigger dude. So like, I feel like the longest I could hang up there would be if I was really pushing, like maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like that's on my best day.
Yeah.
I've got a really good grip. I've got a really, like, my legs aren't that long. I've got a really tall torso. That's my problem.
See,
my proportions are whack.
I have
my
really
legs
long,
were long.
I feel like I could last at least 5 minutes. I have really long arms and long legs.
Because you could lock your legs around it, and I think you'd be okay. Because if you could get your legs around, yeah.
But I could last. I wouldn't be the first out.
Yeah. If you could get your legs around, I think that would put you in an okay spot. My problem is just I've got whack body proportions. So, yeah. But I definitely know if there was anyone there who was remotely in a like remotely athletic in terms of like looking like a Q or obviously Q dropped out, but someone who looked like that, and I would just be like, oh no. But also a hunter.
With Venus there, I would have been like, no.
Yeah, and then that's what I'm saying. Like small women or just even women in general, I would just be like, nah, no way. I'm stepping out. I'm going to take the rice.
Yeah.
I would know that.
So yeah, after the hide and seek stuff, I thought it was wild to me that there wouldn't. I know a lot of the castaways right now said that they felt vulnerable, and it's clear that they're all very competitive.
Yeah.
But even so, I was shocked that no one stepped out, and Jeff said that this is the first time in the new era where his bargain hasn't worked. Every time, all 5 previous seasons, he's been able to negotiate rice, and he's given them rice. So this is the first time that he didn't give them rice, which is interesting.
Yeah. I think if Venus wasn't in such a poor position, she would have. She seemed like she was really considering it.
Yeah.
And
I honestly feel bad for Liz that they
me
didn't.
Too.
I also would have been like, hey, Liz, this is like the only thing Liz can eat. Can we please get food for this girl? Because she like doesn't eat anything.
Yeah, that was the other part is I don't know why, like I feel like Ben totally should have stepped out.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why Ben, I think Ben just felt too vulnerable. Like he
after the Tim vote.
After the Tim vote, he would just been kicking himself if he was going home.
Yeah. I'm honestly surprised. He was
just scared.
I'm honestly also surprised. I feel like Tiffany probably could have sat out because I thought she seemed like comfortable like with her alliance.
I agree, but we get proven here shortly after that she wasn't.
I'm just saying at that point.
At that point, I'm kind of surprised that honestly all 3 Yanu didn't just immediately step out with Liz.
Yeah.
I could have seen all 3 of them and Liz just stepping out, and I wouldn't have been surprised at that being the 4.
Yeah.
That they needed. Because I think everyone would have respected that 3 and been generally okay with it. Because none of them were really on the chopping block at that point, and I think it would have gone over well.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't try the old, if us four step out, you won't vote for us, right?
There was none of that negotiation.
That always is brought up.
I am also surprised that Liz didn't ask anyone, be like, I cannot eat anything. Is there really any, like, do all of you really think that you have a chance at beating Hunter? Like, that's what I would have straight up said. I would have said it straight up. I would have just been like,
do any of y'all actually think you'll win?
It's like, you've got to think about this logically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the challenge goes by, and you and I we were talking about it, and we predicted it was going to come down to Hunter and Venus. You thought Venus was going to win. I thought Hunter was going to win, but we both said we could see it going either way.
Yeah.
And that was ultimately what it came down to. Charlie lasted a lot longer than I think either of us thought he would.
Well, he came in second.
I know. Which is where it seemed like he had just like a really good, like his legs, got them long legs, was able to he got himself in a good spot.
Yeah.
And one thing I really liked about this challenge and just the season as a whole,
the banter with Jeff.
Yeah. It was really funny, especially with Charlie.
Yeah. The banter
coming down the pole.
The banter with Jeff was so good. Whenever he said that y'all have been up there for 7 minutes, and then they were like, several minutes. And Jeff said something along the lines of like, several has now cemented itself in the Survivor vernacular.
Yeah, Survivor lexicon, yeah.
Yeah, and Charlie was like, get ready for next season, Jeff. You got season 40 several.
Yep.
That was good.
Yeah.
And then I just like that Jeff called out Jelinski and like actually mentioned him. I think that's really funny. Honestly, I think Jelinski has a really good shot of coming back.
I think because they've mentioned him so much, I'm just interested to see, because we are truly in a new era. After hearing the way Jeff is talking about the new era, I actually really don't think we're gonna see return players from pre-new era for a long time. I
think that the next time that we get returnees from the pre-era is probably going to be if they do a season of old versus new. I think that's going to be a concept they do.
Yeah, but I think it's a while before we get something like that.
That's probably season 60.
Yeah, like that's a ways down the road. What I'm interested to see is, because what I think they're going to do, I think they're going to get to season 50. And I think 50 is going to be
New Era
All-Stars.
Yeah.
Because I think here's what my thinking is I think you've got to approach 41 as if it's Borneo. You've got to look at it as like one.
Yeah.
And we're making our way forward.
That's what Jeff says in 41. He says...
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he literally says... He doesn't say it's Borneo. He says, this is season 40. This is season 41, but we're dropping the 4, keeping the 1. That's what Jeff says in 41.
Okay. Well, yeah.
This is Survivor season, drop the 4, 1.
Yeah. And I think now, especially after like just listening through, because this is the first season that I've watched while also listening to the On Fire podcast, because I've only been doing that for a couple seasons now, but
yeah,
I didn't listen to it last season or anything.
It's also a relatively new podcast.
Yeah, that's what I said. They've only been doing it for a couple seasons. So getting the context of that this season has really made me start to see, okay, I think I see where their long-term vision is with it. And so I think just like how they did All-Stars 8 seasons in, I don't think they're going to do All-Stars 8 seasons in. I think that'd be a little weird for that to be season 8.
Yeah.
Like season 48, they might, but I feel like they're just going to wait until 50. They might do it at 48, but I just think they're going to wait until 50.
No.
I think you might as well. And so they'll hit it at 50, do the New Era's All-Stars, and then start mixing in some more returnees.
Yeah.
And do like maybe every other season or every 4 seasons or something is a returnee themed season of some kind. And that's where I think you start to get in the Jelinskis and these fan favorite players who come back for whatever reason.
Yeah. I think it's very likely that they do another fans versus favorites, or just do another second chance where all the players are fan voted, where the fans vote on who they want to see back.
I think that totally is likely. I think I'm interested. I would love to see a heroes versus villains again, but I just don't know if they were doing that with just New Era people, I don't think that you're going to have enough to really do that unless all of your villains are from this season. I just don't think you'd have enough. You do from this season, and then you bring in maybe Carson because he's turned himself into a villain post Survivor now.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a villain. And then Jam Jam kind of played like a villain a little bit sometimes, but not really. The thing, I don't think you have enough to do that gimmick again.
Yeah.
So I think they've got to come up with new ideas.
Yeah.
I hope though, I want them to. Jeff has said they're thinking about doing themes, so I think maybe we get themes after 50. I want millennials versus Gen Z.
I think he
so
said
bad.
that there could be themed seasons as like a subtext to the season where it's going to be like season 51.
Yeah, and then
millennials versus Gen Z.
Yeah.
But that might not be every season, and then season 52 could just be Survivor 52.
Yeah, and so that's
in the same way. And the same way that what we used to have was just it would be like the location.
Yes.
Survivor Cook Islands, Survivor Pearl Islands, which makes sense.
Yeah, I honestly think it always should have been numbered and then followed by the whatever made it unique.
Yeah,
it should have been like Survivor Borneo, and then Survivor 2, the Australian Outback, Survivor 3, Africa, Survivor 4, Marquesas. That kind of makes sense. At this point, I guess you could go back and adjust it, but that'd be kind of silly.
Yeah.
So
getting back on track to the actual episode.
Yeah.
So post immunity challenge, we have the discussion of what's leading up to tribal council, and we have the six alliance, in quotations, the six alliance that doesn't really seem to be that strong anymore.
Yeah, well, they call it the six, or really the catchy name is the +1 alliance. That's like the official name. That's going to be like on the Survivor wiki.
Well, I like the six because it's like the boys, like from the boys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
Well, they're the 7. Is it the 7?
Yeah,
and the boys.
Yes, so.
Still,
but I think it's the +1. It's the +1 alliance because it was like the 3 that met on the journey, and they each added 1.
So Tiffany had thrown out Maria's name, and
kind of,
and that upsets Q because Q is on this tirade that if you're in the 6 and you mention anyone who's in it, then you're out. And it's very loose rules in the 6. It seems.
Yeah.
It's basically just Q's way in the 6 or the highway.
Yeah.
That seems to be the way it's working. So Tiffany kind of throws out Maria's name, then that pisses Q off, so Q wants to go for Tiffany. And then there's the other group on the other side of the tribe who is cooking up a scheme to get Tevin out, kind of spearheaded by Liz, which I did not expect Liz to be leading any vote this season at all. So I was honestly surprised. I don't know if you were also surprised by that fact.
I wasn't. I felt like it was just only a matter of time before she did something, because I don't think that she has been doing nothing this whole time, right? I think that she has just been not shown in the edit. I think is a big part.
It also doesn't help that this is her 3rd tribal council.
Yeah. That's the real thing, is that Nami was just as, if not more dysfunctional than Yanu. But we never got to see it because they didn't go to tribal council once until the merge. And so because of that, we didn't get to see these players and we didn't get to see the dynamics between them.
Yeah.
If they would have lost and gone to tribal, I think we would have seen a lot more of this stuff. Like, we would have seen it a whole lot earlier. If Yanu wasn't a train wreck so early on, we may have seen this. I mean, obviously, Hunter's gonna hunt her, but if Yanu was somewhat competitive and Nami happened to have lost a challenge and was in the hot seat, we may have, we would have seen this at least once.
Yeah. What I just thought about though is, which we'll get into it. We can talk a little bit later after we talk about who was voted out. But right now we're at 3-3-3 from each tribe, which is really interesting because that really hasn't happened much in the new era, where the tribe lines have been this blurred, and people are actually making cross-tribal alliances and not necessarily voting with who their initial alliances were.
Yeah.
So I've really enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah, that's where the +1 alliance is interesting, because it truly is, I don't care that you're my original tribe. I've created this new alliance that I think is the best for me long term, which is where, that's what makes Q's, to bring it back, that's what makes Q's decision here so confusing. Starts this whole thing as Tiffany, right? The +1 alliance, they want to just vote out Venus, because Tevin and Hunter want to vote out Venus, because they've just been wanting to get out Venus forever, because they don't like Venus. But Tiffany is using her head and her brain and says, hey, Venus isn't a threat to actually steal the game from them and win it. And so she wants them to consider, okay, what are other options? Who else? Like, if we were going to take out someone, let's take out an actual threat. And then Tevin says, okay, who would you want to vote? And so Tiffany says, well, I don't know. Let's just see how the immunity challenge plays out. And Tevin doesn't like that answer. And so then he goes and complains to Q. And then Q goes and talks to Tiffany. And she throws out a few names. And one of them is Maria. And that's what sets off this whole thing, is that she listed multiple names, one of which was Ben, who is totally fine to vote out, but one of which was also Maria. And he latched onto the Maria. I just think Q was looking for a reason to vote out Tiffany. That's really what I'm thinking. I don't really know, but it's super weird to me. And I wonder if it was also just, if you're feeling the same way, but you've been aligned with Tiffany the whole game.
I think it's,
why are you so willing to flip on her for wanting to vote out someone in the 6? She's in the 6. Like, why are you picking one member of the 6 over another member of the 6 when you're closer to one over the other? Like, I just don't understand this allegiance.
I don't think it has anything to do with Q looking for a reason to vote out Tiffany. I think it has entirely to do with the fact that Q cannot stand the fact of anyone not wanting to play the game the way he wants it to be played.
Yeah.
He doesn't want anyone in the 6 to be voted out, because that's not in his plan. So anyone who defects from that is immediately dead to him. So that's what I think is going on in his head, because he only wants the game to be played and the way he wants it to be played, and he only wants to play with people who are going to play his game. So if someone's not willing to play his game, he doesn't want to play with them.
Which is, I think that's a good point. But it's so funny, because he's like, if you want to vote out someone in the 6, then you're out of the 6. We don't vote out people in the 6.
Yes,
I understand to vote out someone in the 6.
I understand it's basically, I understand it's a paradox.
Yeah,
it's basically a paradox.
So silly.
But yeah. So,
I agree, though. It's just the fact that he's just so willing to flip on his number 1, because his number 1 wants to vote out someone that he has no real allegiance to. Maria was a +1. Maria was never a founding member of the 6. Tim was. And he just voted out Tim. This is the dumbest alliance ever.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how dumb this alliance is?
I'm not disagreeing.
Smart on paper, but it's so dumb. Do you like?
And then he ends up voting out. He ends up voting against Tevin. I don't know. I think we should talk about just the tribal in general and spend the last bit of our episode just talking about what happened at the chaos of tribal.
Yeah.
So we go to tribal. Everything seems normal. Everything seems fine. There's the plan of voting Tevin. There's the plan of voting Tiffany. We're going to see which way we're going to see which way the pendulum swings. And then Q decides to open his mouth and say, I'm asking y'all to vote me out. Vote me out, please.
Jeff, before we start, I am telling everyone to vote me out.
And
he just said that I am the one going home tonight.
For context, his logic was that he made a mistake and he doesn't want someone to go home at the expense of his mistake. And his mistake was that he told Hunter the Tevin plan, and then Hunter ran and was scrambling to try and figure out what was going on, because Hunter obviously didn't want to do the Tevin plan because Tevin's his number one.
Mm-hmm.
And so Q is mad at himself because he should have just stayed quiet and not told Hunter. And so he is upset that someone is going home at the expense of him opening his mouth and saying something he shouldn't have. I think Tevin would have gone home either way. If anything, him saying it just cemented it even further. But so he's all upset because he feels this guilt weighing on him because he feels responsible for someone going home in like a negative way, I guess, is the way he's seeing it in his mind. So I don't know. I personally did not like his reasoning, because his reasoning is like the entire point of Survivor. That's just how Survivor goes. Mm-hmm. Like, if you can't deal with that, you're not cut out to be on Survivor. So I was really frustrated with his reasoning. I think quitters shouldn't be on Survivor because they ruin the point of the game. But I think his logic for wanting to quit was ridiculously stupid. I don't know how you felt about it, but...
Yeah, I just don't understand. It's very much this sort of, again, coming back to this holier than thou, almost self-entitled attitude.
Yeah.
Where it's his way or the highway, and since everything didn't go according to plan, then the vote just needs to be him.
Yeah.
And so he is going to be good, gracious.
He's basically like laying down his life.
Yeah, he is like, I will be your Messiah, and I will take one for the team, for everyone. I am so good. Look at me. I am doing this for all of you. You're welcome.
And he's like, he's leaving with the presumption that everyone's going to get a fresh start. Everyone's going to have a clean slate. And
that's not how
Survivor works. You leaving is throwing a wrench in everyone's plans, because like Kinsey said, you may think it's a fresh start, but you might be in my plans 3 days from now when I would have needed you. And the bonds that we've built, that we've established, you are destroying those and ruining people's games by doing this because of the bonds that you have.
Yeah, and then giving an advantage to your allies' enemies by basically
weakening their alliance.
Yeah, by removing an opposite number.
Yeah.
Like you're improving Ben's position. You're improving Maria's position. You're improving Charlie's position. You're improving all of these people quite a lot by going. And you think you're giving everyone a fresh start, but all you're doing is injecting more chaos into this game.
Yeah.
And you're not, and the worst part is you're doing it on a dime. You're just doing it here. You're not giving anyone any warning. And so there's no chance for anyone to think, process, or plan. And so if everyone were to just go along with it, now everyone's going back and scrambling and having to figure it out. Whereas if this was something dropped on them at the beginning of the day, maybe, at least they have time to figure out, okay, how does this impact my game long term? And they at least have the whole day to figure out, can I actually do this?
Yeah.
But you're trying to have them make this decision in, I know tribals go a lot longer than, obviously we saw it in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Tribals can go on for like an hour, 2 hours sometimes. But still, that's not enough time.
No.
To make a decision that is going to affect you winning $1 million.
Yeah.
No shot someone wants to make that decision.
Yeah.
Right there on the spot. No way.
Yeah. It was, honestly, I think in the nicest way possible, it was an extremely selfish move.
I agree. I think that's the way it definitely came across. I'm very interested to
see the fallout.
I want to see the fallout, and whenever Q is eventually voted out, which I anticipate being in the next episode or two, I want to see his exit interview with Rob Has a Podcast.
Yeah.
Because I know that's going to be brought up.
Yeah.
And I want to see what
he has to say for himself.
And I'm also very curious to listen to On Fire. Because Jeff's gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
So I want to see Jeff's thoughts on it all and how it actually, like, how it went down and how much they actually say. Because On Fire is really short. They don't have that much time to dive into a lot of stuff.
Like 30 minutes.
So I'm curious how deep they're gonna go into all this.
Yeah. So we have this that happens. Tevin just, honestly, I think Tevin just ends up being collateral in all of this. It seems because they don't want to vote Q, so then everyone just shifts to sticking to the original plan and
they just go back to
back to Tevin. So I thought it was weird that Hunter and Tevin were trying to shift it to Venus. That didn't really make sense to me. But I think the biggest thing to come out of this tribal is Charlie telling Tiffany that Q told him that Tiffany has an idol.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the biggest thing to come out of the tribal. So
insane.
I'm very interested to see what the fallout of that is.
It's going to be wild.
Tiffany is going to be pissed.
She is pissed. Her and Kinsey, I think from this point on, I think Tiff and Q are done.
Yeah.
I just don't see any shot that they're aligned beyond this point. Or at least not in any way like we've seen before. It's going to be not built on the trust that, like there's going to be no trust. It's going to be a very conditional alliance, conditional relationship.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very much Tiffany and Kenzie being the duo, which we didn't see a whole lot of their duo in this one, where we saw more of it last time, because like we just saw more of their relationship last time. So anyways, I agree that information coming out was huge, but it is also, I think what's also very interesting now is everyone knows Tiffany has an idol.
Yeah.
Nobody knows Hunter has an idol.
Mm-mm.
And that is going to shake up the dynamics.
I'm interested to,
I'm curious. I want to let you say your thing first.
I hit my
and
mic.
Then I'll
Sorry
say mine.
if that provided feedback.
Sorry. Go ahead, say yours first, and then I'll ask my question because I have a question for you.
I was just going to say, I'm interested to see where Hunter goes from here, because his number one ally is gone. I don't know where he goes from here. Because
his number one ally is gone, and he is, I think he's public enemy number one in terms of challenge, like obviously.
Yeah. I wonder, though, if people want to get out Q because he's pissing them off, or they want to keep him around because they know no one's going to vote for him in the end after that move.
It's the same thing with Venus, I feel like. It's like, who's going to vote for her?
Because
why worry about voting her out right now?
Yeah,
why not vote out a threat?
If I was on that beach, I'd be like, how do I get to the end with Venus and Q? That's what I'd be thinking.
Like, actually. But then there's your problem, is you do that. You take Venus and Q, and people will say, you brought two goats to the end.
Yeah.
And then they give it to Venus.
Yeah.
That's how Venus wins, and I will cheer. Because Venus will have made she's made some moves, and it'll be like, it's so impressive that you managed to make it to the end when no one wanted to play Survivor with you.
I agree. I think she'll have a really good underdog story.
She'll have an insane, she actually will have a really good case if she could make it to the final three.
I just think Tevin is going to try and tear her apart.
Yeah, he hates her. Like, actually despises her.
And if she brings up the soda move, he is going to instantly say, "No, that was mine."
And then,
granted, I don't know how much weight it's going to have, because Tevin's sitting on the jury and not her. This is all hypothetical.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't think she actually is going to get all the way there. But anyways, yeah, I just think like Tiffany brought it up. Obviously, it's like I would, if I'm sitting in like her shoes, I would rather try to get out Ben and Maria than Venus right now. Ben is a scarier. I don't want to sit next to Ben at the end of the game. I don't. People really like Ben. For some reason, nobody likes Venus. It's that simple. Who's going to get votes at the end next to me? Ben is going to steal more of my votes than Venus. Yeah. It's that simple.
So what was the question you were going to ask?
My question, why don't you think, like, why didn't Hunter play his idol for Tevin? He knew.
I know. I was thinking about that.
He knew Tevin had heat on him. He knew that it was between Tevin and Tiff, and they were trying to flip it to Venus for some weird reason. So he knew Tevin's name was the other option. And I can't imagine there was any world where they actually thought they had the votes for Venus.
Yeah, my only thought is they had to have thought that they had the votes for Venus.
I just don't see how they actually thought they had votes to get out Venus.
That or Hunter just wanted to play it for himself because he probably knew that there might be an immunity challenge I lose and I'm going to be vulnerable. And that first immunity challenge I lose is going to be where they're going to want to get me out.
Yeah, that's my only thought is that it's too early right now to reveal that card.
It's too early at Final 10.
Yeah.
It's too... Because then also, you make that move, you save your number one ally, you become public enemy number one on two fronts.
Yep.
Challenge Beast, and you made a very successful idol play.
Yep. Yeah. That's where it's like, if this was
like final
episodes from now,
if this was like Final 6, maybe.
Because that's when is the last time you can play an idol? 6 or 5?
Final 5.
So yeah, that's where I was like, if this was 7 or 6, it becomes a lot more worth it.
Yeah.
But
final,
even 8, even 8.
With your top 10, it's still a little too soon to try to be flashy.
Yeah. And that's where I always thought there was a little chance that he might do it, but I definitely agree.
As much as it sucks,
too early.
Yeah, as much as it sucks that his number one ally went home, I think it was for the best that he didn't play his idol for him.
Yeah, for his own game, it's better to have an idol for yourself than an ally for yourself
with no idol
that everybody was voting out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, everybody wanted them out. It's probably better that they're gone.
Yeah.
Even though it weakens your position a little bit, you still have security and you're really good at challenges. Like there's a pretty good chance he's going to be able to go on a run, win most of the challenges moving forward.
Yeah. There's a very good chance he wins the next immunity challenge.
Yeah.
And the one after that.
It just depends on what they are.
Yeah.
So I think he's in a pretty good spot still.
I think it just depends on where he shifts his alliances from here. But
that's what's going to be interesting. So I guess to wrap this all kind of up nice and neat with a bow, because we want to see how this all plays out in the next episode. But now that we're in this spot where it's 3-3-3, very even playing field, what do you think happens? What are your predictions for where the game goes from here? Who do you think goes home next? Who do you think, because we're at about the midway point now, really in the season. So before we've made our own sort of winner predictions and all this different stuff. So I'm really curious now that we have a lot more information. How do you think this all actually shakes out?
With the Q stuff, it just throws a wrench in like everything I thought.
I agree.
I really have no clue. Honestly, everyone feels vulnerable at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly have no clue who is even on the chopping block next week. Because I want to say Q's on the chopping block, but I feel like they may just keep him around because they know he's not going to win now. So I don't think they're going to go for him immediately. I think they're going to be pissed at him. And they're just going to ostracize him, but they're not going to vote him out yet.
I mean, there's a good chance. Chance of that.
I think the next person to go home is probably going to be a Siga.
So we have Ben,
Ben, Charlie, and Maria.
Charlie and Maria.
I think Asiga goes home next.
Yeah. I think that I do think the Sigas are probably the scariest group of 3 still in, because they are, again,
they're the most
unified. And that's kind of always been the story.
The Yanu were the most unified, and
now they're not.
Now they've fractured, and Nami's a mess. Because it's Hunter, Liz, and Venus left.
And the 3 of them are not unified at all.
No.
I guess Liz and Hunter kind of are.
Not really.
But Liz just backstabbed Hunter, so they're not going to be unified.
Yeah, if anything, Liz and Venus are going to be unified, but Liz doesn't like Venus.
That's where I don't even know what is about to go down with Nami and Yanu. I think there's about to be some really interesting pairings going to start happening.
Yeah.
I still think Tiff and Kenzie are in a power position because they are a solid duo. I do think Maria and Charlie are in a solid position.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they're a duo. And what makes these 2 duos, I think, very, very strong is that they are secret. Like, nobody really knows that these duos exist.
Yeah.
Except the Charlie and Maria duo. Tiffany and Hunter and Q kind of know about it. They don't know it's as solid as it is, but they know that they're close enough that Maria wanted to bring Charlie into the +1 alliance.
Yeah.
So what I agree. I think probably Asiga would be next. I think for some reason, I think it's probably Ben, because he's not in this +1 alliance. And I think if they're wanting to not ruffle...
I think the +1 alliance is over.
I agree. I think it's probably over, but if they're trying to not ruffle feathers, and if Q is going to keep throwing fits and stuff, I think it could be Asiga. But I also think maybe stuff keeps going on with Q, and maybe they're just like, I don't know, let's get Q out of here. Or it could just end up being Venus's time. Who knows? I think there's a legitimate chance it is any of the 3 tribes.
Yeah.
Which is the first time since they've merged that I feel like there's an equal chance that it's all 3.
Yeah.
Because up until this point, Yanu hasn't felt like it's on the chopping block at all. And now an equal shot of all 3 tribes, which is very interesting.
This was the first time even a Yanu's name had been thrown out as a possibility with Tiffany, and then Q volunteering himself. So this is the first time a Yanu's even been mentioned as a potential vote.
And it's not Kenzie.
It isn't Kenzie.
I do think so. All right, if we're talking winner predictions, if we were to rank collectively very quickly the 9 people still in, who would we predict as the final 3? So we don't have to pick a winner. Let's say, all right, who are the 3 sitting at the end?
I think Kenzie and Tiffany I feel pretty confident that Kenzie and Tiffany go to the end.
I think Kenzie definitely. And I think most likely to get to the end, I think Kenzie's definitely getting to the end. And I think Tiffany has a really good shot of getting to the end. But the stuff with Q throwing all this sus on her and her having a public idol scares me. So I don't know if she strikes me as like maybe a 4 or a 5.
The thing is, like, if Tiffany gets voted out, I don't know what Kenzie does. I don't know what game Kenzie has outside of Tiffany.
I think Kenzie has plenty of social game. But I think her biggest strength is in the duo. But the thing is that I think Kenzie is a very, very strong social player. I think that she has a lot of game to play. I just don't think we've seen that because she's been with Tiffany the whole game. I see Kenzie sitting in the final 3, and I see Hunter just purely because of idol challenge. I just don't think we could say not in the final 3. Yeah. So I think those 2, I would say final 3 for sure.
I think a good bet could be Maria. I think Maria is a good bet. I think Charlie is a good bet.
Yeah, I think either of them are interesting. If you had to put money on one of them right now, who do you think is more likely based on?
I think Maria makes
the edit, the overall vibe of the season. That's how I'm trying to look at it holistically. Like, who makes the most sense based on everything we're seeing right now to actually be at the end?
I think Maria makes it over Charlie. Personally,
I agree. I think Maria makes it over Charlie. I still do kind of think Tiff, but the idol thing right now worries me.
Yeah.
So I'd say, all right,
I think Tiffany could be a target next episode.
I think so too.
I think it could carry
over. I think it could carry over.
Or at least they're going to do everything in their power to flush her idol next episode. Yeah. That they're going to put votes on her, and it's either you play your idol and save yourself, and like I don't think they're necessarily going to pose it as we want to get you out. They're probably going to pose it as we have to flush your idol, so we're throwing votes on you to force you to play your idol. But I don't think after that they'll necessarily like continue to try to get her out.
Yeah,
I think it's just going to be we have to flush our idol because we know she has it.
Yeah, I could see that. So, all right, if we're saying those three, we think Charlie's going to make it far. We think Tiffany's going to make it far. Like, we think all these people are going to make it far. Okay, not everyone can make it far. So how far does Liz go? How far does Ben go?
That's the thing. Honestly, that's what's so crazy is I could see any of these people making it to the final three.
And that's where Liz has been so invisible this game. Just from the edit.
Don't call her a gabler. No. No.
Her winner edit may have started this time.
No.
It may have started this episode.
No.
Man. I haven't seen 43. Because that is his season, right?
Yes.
42 Marianne. Yeah. So
yes.
I haven't seen 43. But I've heard rumblings. I know what goes down.
But I'm also not one of those people. I wasn't upset that Gabler won. I did not like. What was her name? Tori? Was her name Tori?
I don't know, man.
Cassie.
I haven't seen it.
Cassidy. That was her name. I didn't really like Cassidy. Everyone thought she should have won. I didn't really care for her. I didn't really like any of them. The Gabler was the one that I was most okay with.
It would remind me of what it makes me think of. Is it makes me think of Koa-Rong Michelle. Like if Michelle winning over Aubrey and Ty. It's one of those sort of games if Liz were to win. And it's one of those things where she just would the screen time she had this episode would have to be her screen time the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be mad if that is the kind of screen time she's going to have the whole game, but it would be sort of weird because it's just has been just so invisible in the edit. And that's not her fault. That's the show's fault. And I feel like that is such an interesting choice of production to intentionally omit her from so much of the game.
She literally had an episode with 0 confessionals.
Yeah.
That's crazy, insane. Though. Someone who voted out can win? Someone who was voted out can win?
Yeah. That's even crazier.
I guess they changed the rules.
I know. So, yeah, I like Liz. Liz is one, though. I could see her being now viewed as a threat because of the Tevin thing. And people being like, oh, snap, she's here to play. And then they want to actually get her out now in the next few episodes. So maybe she doesn't go that far. Ben, I also think, is just always going to be that, oh, he's so likable. Let's get him out. So I have no clue how far any of them are going to make it.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about episode 8 before we wrap up? I think we're both just really looking forward to the next episode and to see the absolute fallout that's about to happen.
Yeah, I have no clue where it's going to go.
I truly think that next episode could go any direction, any which way. Anyone could go home.
I agree. I do think, I guess, before we end it, I do think it's probably worth saying that this was one of the most iconic voting montages. That is one thing we didn't say.
That was so entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, just watching everyone go up and just be like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, what
was that?
I think that this season, when it's all said and done, is going to go down as...
This has by far been my favorite season of the new era. Yeah. And it's not even over.
And I don't even know if it's going to go down as one of the best seasons. It's just going to go down as like legend.
It's just going to go down as iconic.
And it is very like have you seen Gabon?
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't seen Gabon.
Yeah. Gabon it's not the best season because there are some really
it's like a mess.
It's a mess, and that's what makes it bad.
Randy's in Gabon, right?
Yes.
So that's
a literal racist.
Yes.
Like legit racist, man. So that's like, for those aspects, it's like, it's not a good season because you have aspects like that, but it's so iconic.
Yeah.
Like when you have that moment where I can't remember her name, but she gets up there to vote for Randy and like so loudly is like, forget you, goodbye. To like where everyone can hear her. So iconic.
Yeah, you've made my life
hell since day one.
Yeah, so I think this is going to live on in the Survivor memory similar to Gabon, but I think it's going to be even more favorable than that because it is probably going to go down as the best season of the new era so far.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be viewed in that high like regard there, but it's also just going to be memeable in this internet age. Like the memeability of the season is high, and it's going to be able to be looked back on with this Gabon like lens. So it's very interesting, and I agree. I don't know where it's going next.
Yeah. Well, I guess we just have to wait, sadly, 7 more days to see.
Yeah.
Torture Post Department between now and then. Shout out to Charlie. I know you're excited as much as I am. Peyton's not excited.
I'm excited for Fortnite. A little.
Number 1 victory royale.
Yeah, I'm excited for Post Malone's portion of Fortnite. See how that is.
All right. Well, that wraps up our recap episode of Survivor 46, episode 8, Hide and Seek. Thank you for tuning in to the Idle Talk podcast. Follow us on social media at Idle Talk Podcast. We have currently been binging Survivor Africa. We finally are almost done with it, getting very close to finishing it. I'm enjoying it so far. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to give us a rating and a review as it helps our podcast grow.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye.